The mission of how I started podcasting and started Special Chronicles is giving respect and voice to those of us with special needs. I became an athlete leader of Special Olympics Illinois, and when I recorded the audio of the speeches that I was given and putting those up as podcasts, I soon received messages of encouragement, and I learned that it was a powerful platform and really helping to make a difference in people's lives. 12 years ago, I didn't expect that anybody would want to even listen to me. We have over 42,316 listeners per month. It's a humbling experience. I'm really grateful to make a difference in other people's lives.
Voice to people with special needs.
Podcasting since 2008. This is the show where we're broadcasting disability stories from an insider's perspective, and we are giving a voice to people with special needs. This is your weekly guide to find and joy, acceptance, and inclusion.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we tried, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
You're listening to the Special Chronicles Show. This is episode 410. Welcome back to another episode of the Special Chronicles Show, talking all about dealing with intolerance in today's world. My name is Daniel, founder of Special Chronicles and the Sargent Shriver International Global Messenger with Special Olympics. So excited for another exciting episode of the Special Chronicles Show. This is episode 410, and we have a brief programming note. One of our panelists, co-hosts, guests, panelists. What do we want to use? Panelists, guests on the show is unable to make it, and so that's my mentor, Chris. And so if he joins in later on the show, then we will welcome him into the conversation. But I'll tell you how this conversation got started. Why we're talking about dealing with intolerance after we introduce our two of our guests on the program today. Welcome to this. Welcome, I should say. Let's rephrase that. Rewind. Blah, 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 rewind. Welcome back to this. You guys hold them on our health series, our inclusive health, all things health conversation series from this past fall. Whenever we tape that, this past fall, I go to specialchronicles.com/health, and that's when you last hold them on this program. And this groundbreaking program. And welcome back to the Special Chronicles Show. Renee, calling in from Hawaii.
Aloha, everyone.
And also so North America SSIGM colleague, Hanna Atkinson, calling in from Colorado, is also joining the program today.
Good morning, everybody.
And last time we had you both on the show, we were talking about all things health. But this episode, we're talking about dealing with intolerance. And let's let our listeners know right off the bat that this conversation, it started on an internal conversation that we had on last month's January 2021 IGM meeting on Zoom that we had. And we thought, well, since the conversation was so good internally, why not share it externally with all of our podcast listeners? Right?
Exactly. You nailed the head on it, Daniel. So yes, I think you did it really well.
Yeah. So let's just take a quick
Right on.
Yeah. So let's take a quick moment to just let our listeners know that SpecialChronicles.com is where you can go to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Vimeo, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those places. Subscribe to our newsletter. Subscribe to all of our different podcasts that we have on this network. SpecialChronicles.com is where you can go to follow us and connect with us and learn more and listen to more podcasts. And we want to also remind you that you can. I thought I had this all organized. We want to remind you that you can, if you enjoy this podcast and enjoy all the podcasts that we produce, not only on the Special Chronicles Show, but everything from the Georgia and Daniel Show, the Unified Work series, our health series, all the different podcasts that we have on this network, on this platform. You can make a gift today, specialchronicles.com/give. SpecialChronicles.com/give, and you can help us. You can join our supporters like Renee and Hanna and so many other supporters, and help us to operate our studio, because it does cost money for us to produce these, to get these podcasts uploaded, to get these live streams live, and so you can watch or listen to them. It costs money for us to turn the lights on, to keep all this recorder and all this stuff plugged in. And so you can make a gift today, specialchronicles.com/give, and click the Give Now button. And with that, we will get started with the conversation. And so let's first, on this week's episode, as we'll present in a conversation about intolerance, define intolerance. And we were going to have Chris define intolerance, but let's tell our listeners that if you look up intolerance in the dictionary, I think you could find two things. One thing is if you have an intolerance towards milk or dairy or food or something, like your stomach could get upset. That's one definition. That's not what we're talking about. But what's the other definition of intolerance? You guys want me to read it, or do one of you want to tell us the how we, for the sake of this conversation about intolerance in today's world, how are we defining intolerance? Who wants to?
You can go ahead and read it, Daniel.
Okay. All right. So, intolerance is when you don't accept other people's thoughts and you try to show this person that the way you think is better or is right. Some people do it with violence, verbal and or physical. Some topics that people usually have more intolerance are religion, sexuality, politics. Some even argue about the best football team or others. And by football, we mean soccer, but we could also mean American football. So since we are all in the States, we should clarify that. And so that's how we're defining intolerance. And we we're going to first kind of go around the virtual table. If we were all together, which it's sometimes it's a lot more fun to we call these podcasts in person, but because of COVID and because Hanna, you're calling in from Colorado, Renee is calling in from Hawaii, I'm here in Illinois, and so we're doing this virtual. So around the virtual table, we are going to first share about how we experience, or share our stories, share our personal stories of how we each individually have experienced people being intolerant towards us. And then we'll go into, after that, we'll talk about how we're coping with intolerance in today's world. And then we'll go into how the message of the inclusion revolution and how Special Olympics is helping us to cope with people who are being intolerant with us. And that's pretty much the show. So we're going to kick it off with having Renee begin the conversation, or begin with sharing with us, Renee, your personal story of how you have experienced people being intolerant towards you. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. And the biggest way that I've ever experienced intolerance was towards my disability. My disability is invisible. I'm on the autism spectrum and I have a learning disability. My biggest form of intolerance started when I was in school. I dealt with teachers who didn't want to have to hear that they needed to make things easy for me. They didn't want to help me and they refused to help me. So I was basically sitting there feeling lost, confused, and not able to do the work. And of course, there were some students who didn't want me around either. They didn't want me around playing sports with them or games because I didn't understand the rules. So I basically stopped asking for help. It wasn't really worth it to me if I wasn't going to get it. And I pretty much stayed in my own little world. Playing pretend was a lot easier for me because in that area, I make up the rules.
Yeah, awesome. And sorry, that was bad timing there. Just writing down some notes in my notebook and it kind of fell off the desk. So as I open up the page, okay. So yeah, thanks for sharing, Renee, that powerful story. And now we'll hear from Hanna to share with us your personal story of how you, Hanna, have experienced people being intolerant towards you.
Fair enough. And thank you very much, Daniel. So in my school years, I was bullied by a high school teacher. She didn't want me to make friends of my own. So I did something about it. I made friends. I experienced being cyberbullied by text messages. Now, I was really upset. I felt at the time that I had no value. I had rude behaviors like insults directed at me. And that made me really heartbroken. Unfortunately, after high school, I have found my place in the world.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Hanna, for sharing your personal story. And now for me, like you, Renee, my disability is invisible as well. I have learning disabilities and severe language disorder and developmental delays. And so a lot of times growing up in school, I also had people that didn't know how, I would say, didn't know exactly how to include me. Like there was times when I was in, I think it was third grade, and there was times where, and even my parents would notice that I would either both physically in class, but then also at home, that I would be in tears because classmates just didn't I guess the best way to say is didn't know how to include me. And so that's from my early years. But if we fast forward a bunch of years more recently, in 2000, so in one of the jobs I had in 2015, I'm not going to say the name of the companies, but in 2015, a former coworker of mine told me that they felt sorry that my friends and I had special needs. And then in 2019, so just a couple of years ago, again, we're recording this February 13th, 2021. So a couple of years ago in 2019, a former manager had brought me into the office and said that everybody was getting a raise. But he told me, and the door to the manager's office was closed, and he told me that I didn't deserve a raise at work. And since then, I'm no longer working at either of those two companies. And so those were examples of at one place of work, a coworker not a coworker being intolerant and not fully including me. And then in 2019, at another job, a manager who you would think should have more tolerance, should have more respect and dignity towards us, people with ID, but that wasn't the case. And so that really upset me. And we'll get to it in a moment, and which is another part of the conversation that we had on Zoom is, and it is how we're coping with that, how with those people that are being intolerant with us. And my mentor Chris had told me on a Zoom call that I had, I think, well, we got on a call before us as IGM meeting, and he told me that he doesn't really see me get mad. And yeah, so in my response, I'll show a quote that is pretty powerful, but I'm gonna save that for my part of the quote. In fact, I'm gonna try to pull it up when you both are showing when we go on to the next topic. But that was mine. Is there anything else that either of you want to comment when we talk about our stories of people being intolerant towards us? So before we move on to the next topic, but is there anything else on people being intolerant towards us that either of you want to share?
Yeah. It's really a shame that how intolerance can have a serious effect on people. We've all experienced it, and I can still suspect that along with me, you're still pretty scarred. Yeah.
I think you really all still scarred, even though we'll get to in a moment. We find ways to cope with this intolerance in today's world, but those, I think, when we come into similar experiences of where those, I guess, of where those places where people were intolerant towards us, like whether it is at a school or at a workplace or in the community, when we come to even new places, like if we walk into even new schools or new workplaces, we still have those scars from the past, even though it might not have occurred at that new location, but we still have those.
Yeah, but despite it, it inspires me to look for those who may feel lonely and lost.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're using those scars to inspire us to look for other people that are lonely, other people that are lost, and so that way together we can all rise up above those scars to cope with intolerance in today's world. There's a song, and I just for copyright issues, we're not gonna. I don't think we're gonna play it. We could try to play a clip of it, but there's a song, and I think I might have it on my Apple Music. Maybe if we play like less than 30 seconds of it. But there's a song. I don't know if you guys, if you know the name. They played it in Los Angeles, I think, at the World Games, but it's called "Rise Up." Do you guys know that song?
I do.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Android Day. I thought I had it in my. I really thought I had it in my Apple Music. Let me just search for songs, and I'm doing it. Whoops! I don't want to play that. It's a good thing I muted the phone. Let's see. If I don't know why I can't. I really thought I had it on. I don't use this that much. If I can't find it, we'll just move on. But let's see. Rise Up. It's not gonna. Yeah, it won't let me just type it into Google quickly, and we will then move on. But Renee and Hanna, did you guys want to say anything else to that?
Sure thing. So the reason why why I was talking about my experiences in school is because I want people to take away to actually understand that even those who are different than who you are, basically, is very important to remember, because I experienced the same things that you guys do, even though I might be a bit different than you. For instance, I'm 4'9". That means that a lot of people could, tell me that I'm not good enough or that I have no value. I want you guys to really dig that message and to fully understand, listeners, that we are just like you, like everybody else who I know, like Daniel or like Renee. However, I think it's a beautiful thing to actually really explain yourself to the fact that being intolerant to us is not a good response, because we as people are people first before our disability. Yes, I have Down syndrome. Yes, I can learn. Yes, I can hold a job. But let alone, I have friends. Renee and Daniel are my friends. They are like brothers and sisters of mine. So if you say something bad to them or to me, I would definitely share my opinion. And
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, as we get this is all a good transition into the next topic, and as we wise up, that was, oh, that's good. Okay, that's not exactly what I wanted to. That was good. Let's try. Let's do this again. As we talk
about, is just a song about.
Whoa! As we talk about I don't know why this is. Okay, let's try it again. Let's rewind a little bit. Rewind. Blah 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 blah. As we talk about how we wisen, as we wisen up above the, as we take those scars of people being intolerant towards us, and we rise up above that, and talk about how we're coping with intolerance to today's world.
Mountains, we can walk it out. Mountains, and I'll rise like the day. I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, I like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again.
That's Andrew Day with her song Rise Up. I thought maybe we could, as we now transition into the next topic and begin to talk about how we're coping with intolerance in today's world, and really, I feel like it speaks a lot to taking those stories that we just shared and taking those scars of people being intolerant towards us, and we're wising up to how we're coping with intolerance in today's world. That song by Andrew Day, Rise Up. If you listen to the words of that song, and we'll try to see if we can put a link to it in the show notes on specialchronicles.com for episode 410. So specialchronicles.com/podcast410. I feel like a lot of those words kind of speak with what we're about to just talk about in just a few moments from now. But you guys want to comment on that song and how this song really is helping us to wise up above those scars of people being intolerant towards us?
It's such a beautiful song. It makes me want to cry. That's powerful.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's move on, and we're going to begin with Renee, and have you share with us how you and how we all are rising above those scars of people being intolerant towards us, and how we are coping with intolerance in today's world. So I'll turn it over to you, Renee.
Thank you again, Daniel. I feel that my faith in God is helping me cope with these scars. And I believe the way I am coping is by educating. As an SSIGM, it is my goal to break down the barriers of intolerance and unacceptance. When I give a speech or I am sitting on a committee, I am hoping that when people see me, they don't see my disability. They see me as a human being that has something to contribute, that I am something of value, and they will leave inspired. And instead of feeling intolerance, they will change and have tolerance and acceptance in their hearts.
Awesome.
People look at me and see, not focus on the disability or what we can't do, but on the ability, what we can do.
Awesome. Thanks, Renee, for sharing those. I believe a lot of our listeners will learn a lot about how can learn a little bit from you, and how they can rise above those scars of people being intolerant. Now we'll turn it over to Hanna to share with us how she is rising above those scars of people being intolerant towards us, and how we can cope with intolerance in today's world. So I'll turn it over to you, Hanna.
Thank you again, Daniel. So for that question, I would say, know your worth, know your value, stay connected to each other, focus on building our resilience to live a healthier, productive life. We can all be the solution by showing the world our resilience, our compassion, and our commitment to people who are all different than we are. Thank you.
Awesome. And before I share my thoughts, you mentioned resilience, and I believe we all took part in a Emily Klingo had us take part in a resilience webinar along with other athletes from across the globe. But I believe that the power of resilience, and if we use that, it can also that's some powerful advice on how we can really wise up above those scars and really cope with intolerance in today's world. And now I'll turn it over to myself, I guess. I don't know how else to transition to that, and share how I have really wised up above those scars of intolerance, and how I am coping with intolerance in today's world. And with that, I'll say how I am doing that is through really the message of love and respect, and for all of us, no matter the disability that we were diagnosed with, and really how intolerance and hatred, how intolerance can be met by love. We Special Olympics athletes, so myself and Hanna and Renee, we show love when we are met with intolerance. We show love when we are met with hate. No matter what, when people say bad stuff, when people are intolerant towards me and my friends, like Hanna and Renee and so many of my other friends in Special Olympics, I smile, I listen, and I stay happy and joyful when interacting with them. That's what I've always shown. Special Olympics brings and it kind of gets into on that next question, next topic a little bit. But Special Olympics brings out the best in me and brings out the best in every person. Special Olympics brings out the best in not just every athlete, but every coach, volunteer, staff, every family member, law enforcement participant, and every sponsor. As my mom likes to say, if the whole world were like Special Olympics, then there would be no wars. And really, how I'm rising up above that intolerance in today's world, how I'm coping with intolerance, is just looking at each person with love and compassion, looking at each person with kindness and respect, and showing that love. If you show that love, then hopefully that intolerance will be pushed off, will be pushed to the side. That wall of intolerance will come down, and hopefully few other people like us, no matter if they have a visible or invisible disability, then hopefully they too will not have as many scars as we have had. With that, you guys want to comment on any of that, or any of, not just that, but like of any of what each of us have shared?
Yes, you are absolutely right, Daniel. Special Olympics has changed my life in so many ways. I went from being on the sidelines of life to being on the playing field and included in activities that I was often left out of. And here again, you are right too, that a little kindness goes a very long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, I would agree with you on that. The reason why I said what I said, because I had many things in my life. It's not always pitch perfect. Nobody is pitch perfect. I know that I'm not. I know that Daniel is not. Renee is not. Even I think in Intolerance today, I think we should just sit down and just have a meaningful conversation. This is what this is. This is talking about making that connection, staying connected, and having that meaningful conversation with people that really care about you. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because without that care, the love and the respect and the kindness, then where would we be in the world? And I think that it might be very beneficial for all of you listeners who are listening today to listen to this message and take away all the things that me, Daniel, and Renee are talking about, because it's very important and we need you.
It is very important. And speaking to that, I want to comment on two things that you both have said. One thing is with staying connected. I think that message of staying connected relates to what all three of us are going to be writing in our for our Mulch SSIGM blogs, and about the Spread the Word to Inclusion Connection campaign. That's March 3rd, I think, which is my dad's birthday. But that power of how I think when we are included, when we are connected, then we're able to better rise above that intolerance. We're able to show kindness. And then another brief comment is, I believe that there was a book, Hanna, that you co-authored with a bunch of other people that Lady Gaga put out. I'm blanking on the name of the book. I should have done a little bit more show prep on that. But you want to?
I have the book. Do you want me to show you the book, Daniel, so then you can jog your memory? Yeah.
And then is it linked on your website?
I think so. If people go to my website, Wholeheartedly Hanna, however, which it will be also in this show notes as well. You can also see that there's a book you can also buy. So please go on the internet, look up wholeheartedly Hanna.com, and I'll show you the book that Daniel is referencing to because I have it. And so it's a really good book. I recommend you guys to read it. There are 3 stories of mine that I have written myself. One of them is on one of my best friends from my high school experience. The second one, I don't remember the second one, but you guys will figure that out. And then the third and final one is on the chairman of Special Olympics. So the founder's son, Tim Shriver, is actually in the book. So I'm going to go get the book and stay tuned because I'll be back.
Awesome. So with that, we will, Renee and I will take over. And I'll bring, just so there's no blank on the screen, I'll bring Hanna back on once she joins on the show. But as you get, she got the book. That was fast.
I told you I have the book already in my room, so that's a good thing. So this is the book of Channel Kindness, in which I co-authored and met with Lady Gaga and Cynthia D'Amata. So this is the book that I'm talking about. So when you go to my website of wholeheartedlyhanna.com, you'll see me reading this book, I think, because I am in the backyard of my house with this book in my hands that you'll see right now. So I recommend you guys to take a look at this. There are 3 stories in here that was written by me. They're all comments from Lady Gaga for each of the stories that's written in here, including mine. So just to let you guys know. So buy this book, print it, like it, and well, if you ask anyone who wants to recommend this book, I would say go for it. And it talks a little bit about kindness and how people, view kindness in their eyes. And you'll see that in my eyes, as well as other co-authors that I also worked with. So once again, if the link will be in the show notes, but also if you listen to the podcast, go check out the video on YouTube or Facebook, and you can see some of these banners, and you can see the book that Hanna's showing up if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter live right now. But it is, once again, it's called Channel Kindness is the name of the book, right? And Hope, Kind, Love, Gaga is the book. So I recommend you guys get it on Amazon Prime or anywhere you can find this book. It's really important to remind yourself about kindness in a way that you can treat others with kindness too. So I recommend this book. And if you want to have encouragement from, Lady Gaga, you can just pop this book open and give this a heartfelt read.
Awesome. I still haven't got it yet, but hopefully I can pick it up. So you all listeners, I believe we think Hanna has a link to it on her website, right? wholeheartedlyhanna.com.
There's wholeheartedlyhanna.com, and there's me, reading the book. And if you go all the way to the bottom or the corner, you will see me reading the book in the backyard of my house. So I recommend you guys to get the book. I think there's a link there. So just go there, have fun, check it out, and buy it because you will not regret it.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and move on and show. Well, let's go ahead and take a quick sponsor break, partner break. When we come back, because those are always good breaks. So we kind of have to take those partner breaks. But take us to have another sip of coffee or water, and when we come back, we will talk about the message. We talked about it a little bit. Well, maybe we'll go into just a little bit more length about how the message. I know I'm looking at the time. We started a little late, so now we have a little bit less time to finish. So we're going to take a quick sponsor partner break, and when we come back, we'll get into talking about how the message of the inclusion revolution helps us to cope and rise above the people that are intolerant towards us. And we'll get into our social media plugs. All that's coming up after the break. So you're listening to the Special Chronicles Show. This is episode 410, dealing with intolerance in today's world. Don't hit pause. We will be right back after a quick message from our partners and supporters. Support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. As an independent public media podcast, Special Chronicles will always be there for you. Now we're asking you to be there for us. As a nonprofit independent media organization, we can only make programs like Special Chronicles with listener support. Our programs provide weekly, candid, honest, and inspiring conversations about the people with disabilities community that creates awareness, support, and advocacy within each week's episode. Listeners tell us our shows are an enjoyable and necessary podcast for the intellectual and developmental disability community and everyone else who is able to listen to stories about life from a different angle. Support for Special Chronicles. If you and your family love our weekly podcast, make a one-time, monthly, or annual gift of thanks today. Support this podcast at specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give. Support for Special Chronicles comes from ComEd. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with the ComEd Energy Force Ambassador Program. The Energy Force is the country's first energy efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities. ComEd is powering lives and really is powering us here at Special Chronicles to keep the lights on and our technology is powered on. As ComEd powers the lives of us, they're literally giving a voice to people with special needs. We thank ComEd for the generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. Learn more at specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd.
Hi, my name is Lisa Noble, and I'm a ComEd Energy Force Ambassador and an athlete with Special Olympics Illinois.
Hi, my name is Daniel Smrokowski, and I also am a ComEd Energy Force Ambassador and founder of a company called Special Chronicles.
The ComEd Energy Force program is a program that hires people with disabilities to teach the public how to save energy and money.
It's the country's first energy efficiency program of its kind.
Saving energy is especially important while everyone is at home due to COVID-19. We're using more electricity than ever before. Just think about how many more times you are opening the refrigerator door these days.
And while the economy is stressed, it's more critical than ever to save money where we can. Following these tips can save energy and money in this time of COVID-19.
Wash your clothes in cold water and use the dryer sparingly.
Your dryer can take up to 7 times more energy than the washer.
Turn off and unplug any electrical devices or power strips you are not using.
Electrical devices can continue to zap power even when turned off if they're still plugged in. We call them vampire devices.
Use LED bulbs.
They use 25% less energy than incandescent bulbs and last up to 25 times longer, saving you lots of money over time.
Keep your refrigerator between 35 and 38 degrees.
And be sure to use Energy Star appliances.
And last but not least, check out ComEd.com/home savings for more tips and rebates.
Lisa and I would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to us today.
Remember, we are all in this together.
Stay healthy.
And stay safe.
Bye.
COVID-19, better known as coronavirus, has spread throughout the world. Information about children with this disease is limited, but they are known to have had mild symptoms. Many organizations are responding accordingly depending upon their area. It's best to stay home and away from others, especially when sick, and continue following healthy hand wash guidelines, covering mouth and nose and not touching your face or high-touch surfaces. Clean and disinfect high-touch surfaces regularly, and for more information, please visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Thank you.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising.
Peaceful protesters.
In a rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference.
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 Our demands are
Equality.
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 dignity,
dignity, and the recognition of our shared humanity.
We will not stop
or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
More divided than ever.
and coming together has never been more urgent.
The revolution,
Is inclusion.
find out more at jointherevolution.org.
Special Chronicles. Giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
You're listening to the Special Chronicles Show. This is episode 410 right here on specialchronicles.com. And my name is Daniel, founder of Special Chronicles and a Sargent Shriver International Global Messenger from Special Olympics, Illinois. And joining me back on the program, my friends and SSIGM colleagues, Renee, calling in from Hawaii, where it's nice and warm, unlike what I'm looking at right now out my studio window. Bunch of snow on the rooftop, snow falling down, a nice blanket of white snow in Illinois. And also where it's also snowing, calling in from Colorado, our friend and SSIGM colleague, Hanna. Welcome back, Hanna.
Thank you.
And we've got just a little bit more time left in the program today. So not that much time, but just a little bit of time. And so because I believe in talking about how we're rising above the scales of intolerance in today's world and how we're coping with intolerance today, we talked about it a little bit, but how does the message of the inclusion revolution help us to cope with people who are intolerant towards us? Well, maybe because we kind of covered it a little bit in the last segment before we took that break. But we'll go around this virtual table again and share some brief comments of how we think the message of the inclusion revolution helps us to cope with and really rise above people who are intolerant towards us today. We'll begin with Renee. I'll turn it over to you, Renee.
Thank you, Daniel. Aloha again, everyone. I feel that the inclusion revolution unites us for a common goal. Just as Eunice Kennedy Shriver took a stand against the injustices of that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities endured, it is our role or our job as leaders to charge forward for the inclusion revolution for persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities, so that we can be included in all aspects of life.
Absolutely. And we'll turn it over to Hanna to share with us how the message of the inclusion revolution helps us to cope with people who are intolerant towards us.
Fantastic. Thank you, Daniel. And hi, everybody again. So my comments on that is it creates a place of belonging. Anyone can join either as an athlete, volunteer, or coach, or donor. I feel included and appreciated for who I am. In fact, Special Olympics has given me the opportunity to grow into my best self. The message of the inclusion revolution is transformative power of unity. That's what I think of that particular answer for the inclusion revolution.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Hanna and Renee, for sharing those comments. And now I'll turn it back over to myself to share some brief comments. It's a little weird to turn it back over to yourself, but when you're hosting this program, the Special Chronicles Show on specialchronicles.com, then that's what you have to do. So, anyways, how I believe the message of the inclusion revolution is really helps us to cope with people who are intolerant towards us is that I believe it also helps us to unite towards a common mission, and really it helps us to when we, as leaders, as Sargent Shriver International Global Messengers, we are we are leaders in this movement, and as leaders, we share with pride. We share with everybody that we speak to, both in the movement, but also externally as well, like we're doing right now on this podcast, of how this message of the inclusion revolution helps us is that we're able to show people that the message of the inclusion revolution, that it helps to bring out the best in every person. When every person is fully included as a leader, joining the three of us as a leader in the inclusion revolution, then that message helps us to bring out the best in all of us and brings out the best in every person that joins with this message, that joins with this movement of the inclusion revolution. It really, this message of the inclusion revolution brings out the best in not just every athlete, but also every coach and volunteer and staff and family member and law enforcement participant and sponsor. That's what I believe, and I believe what we what we each have shared with you, listeners. You guys can take what I and Hanna and Renee, what we each have shared about how this much of the inclusion revolution, how this truly, by taking this message, we can it can help us to not just cope, but it can help us to rise above those scars of people who are intolerant towards us. And that's how we can, again, go along with this whole theme, this whole message today of this episode. Really show kindness and stay connected, and show kindness and love, and share this message of the inclusion revolution, because that's how we can rise up above the people who are intolerant towards us. As we're going to quickly move on, because we have just a little bit more time on the program today. But we'll get into all plugs, and as we get to our plugs, I'm going to pull that up so I can we can kind of go over on the virtual table and share how and there'll be links in the show notes. So if you, dear listener, go to specialchronicles.com/podcast410. That's specialchronicles.com/podcast410. Or if you listen to this on podcast and Apple Podcasts or Spotify, the link will be in the description below. If you're watching the video, again, the link will be, no matter if you listen to the podcast or watching the video, it will be in the link to this episode page, specialchronicles.com/podcast410. You can go there and get all these links that we're just about to mention right now. And we'll have Renee go first and share how we can connect with you, as well as Special Olympics Hawaii on social media and website and those social media plugs. Oh, she's muted. There we go.
Oh, there. Sorry. Thank you so much, Daniel. The best way you can email me, you can email me at rmanfreddy@hawaii.rr.com. And if you are interested, you can look me up on Facebook. Or if you want to know more about my organization, Special Olympics Hawaii, you can look us up at www.specialolympicshawaii.com.
Awesome. So the banners might not totally relate to what you said, but we'll make sure to put those links in the show notes so you guys can go and check that out. And now, Hanna, how can we connect with you? And how can we connect with you and Special Olympics Colorado?
Sounds great. So, as Daniel put in the banner for wholeheartedlyhanna.com, go there. You can email me right there for Wholeheartedly Hanna, which I'm pointing out right now. So that's one way you can connect with me for my business. If you want a public speaker, just go to my business website. You figure all that stuff out there. So keep that in mind if you guys want a public speaker. And then the other ways you can find me is you can also go and look at specialchronicles.com/cooking health with Hanna series. It will be in the show notes on the bottom of the screen. So make sure that you do that. Click it, like it, subscribe to Cooking Health with Hanna videos. And if you have any ideas for any other recipes that you want, just comment on my cooking shows and on the playlist, in which that will be in this link as well. So that's good. You can also follow me at Special Olympics Colorado Facebook as well. And you can also see it live as well for Cooking Health with Hanna videos on Special Olympic Colorado Facebook. So stay tuned for that. And that will be also in the show notes as well. So if you guys need to contact me, email me for my business, Cooking Health with Hanna videos, and Special Olympic Colorado website, and also the Facebook for Special Olympics Colorado. So remember to show love and compassion.
Awesome. And we want to just remind you, just once again, I'm going to put those panels up on the screen, but Renee, if people want to email you, it's, you want to remind the listeners again how they can
if you want to email me, it's rmanfreddy@hawaii.rr.com.
And so
you can also find me on LinkedIn, and the Special Olympics Hawaii Facebook stays fit.
Awesome. So all those links will be in the show notes. Hopefully, if not, then just send me a note, and we can update the show notes later too. If it's not totally on there, we can follow me at. Whoops. Let's move that. There we go. You can follow me on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn at PodmanDan, PodmanDan. Actually, LinkedIn is just my name, Daniel Smrokowski. But at PodmanDan, PodmanDan at PodmanDan. It's pretty simple to connect with me. And SpecialChronicles.com is how you can connect with this network, Special Chronicles, this platform, this podcast platform. That's the other place to connect with me. And if you want to connect with Special Olympics Illinois, I didn't put that panel up, but it's Special Olympics. It's SOILL.org is where you can connect with my local program. And we want to remind you as well, if you enjoy these videos, you can we forward link for StreamYard at specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. If you or wants to sign up for StreamYard to kind of do what we're doing, go to that. You get I believe there's like a discount code thing that you can get if you sign up with this link. So specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. And then we want to remind you as well, specialchronicles.com/show is this podcast page for this podcast, but then also here we go. You can send us any feedback, email, feedback at specialchronicles.com is just the overall, if you want to email us any comments on this conversation that we had today. And we're just about out of time, but we want to remind you, we mentioned it on the show, but let me go ahead and there we go. All blogs. Renee, Hanna, and myself, we all, as three of your Special Olympics North America, Southern Tribal International Global Messengers, we are writing monthly. Actually, I think the past couple of years, it's only been like 6 blogs a year. So I don't know if that will be the same for 2021, but you can follow in our blogs by going to sonorthamerica.medium.com. The link will hopefully be in the show notes. But once again, that is sonorthamerica.medium.com. And that's where you can, I believe they can follow up blogs there, right?
Yes.
So that's the place for all 3 of our blogs. Go there and follow that. And any final thoughts on your overall time here today on the Special Chronicles show that you want to share with our listeners?
Yes, Daniel. Thank you so much for having me on the show today. What a great way to start off my day in Hawaii. I'm so honored to have shared my story, and hopefully it has inspired our listeners to not give up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Hanna?
I would agree with Renee as well, but for my final thoughts is thank you very much for having me in this podcast, Daniel. That's very thoughtful and kind of you. My final thought is choose kindness, because we all are trying to find our place in this world, because we're all trying. So continue to empower us, lead us, and be the role models that you are, because I believe that we can all come together and just be a great United States of America.
Awesome. And my final thoughts is that I want to remind you all that you can rise up above those skulls of people that are intolerant towards you, and remember that intolerance can be met by love. Remember to show love and kindness and respect to everybody. And just remember that message today. If you get anything from the conversation, we remember everything that Renee and Hanna and myself that we have shared with you on this important conversation on how we can really deal and really rise up above the intolerance in today's world. So you have been listening to the Special Chronicle. Oh, yeah.
I have another thought.
Good.
Sorry, really quick. Today, I feel very fortunate to work with organizations that are striving towards tolerance and acceptance. We, as SSIGMs and even Special Olympics athletes, we are breaking down those barriers of intolerance. And I advise all of us to keep charging forward and do not lose faith. Faith is very powerful, especially during these times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't lose faith, and remember that we are all in this together, and that together, as we work together and join as SSIGMs, join with organizations and movements such as Special Olympics, we can truly change the world and make a difference. And so you've been listening to the Special Chronicles Show right here. This has been episode 410 right here on specialchronicles.com. Go there, subscribe to our newsletter, connect with us on social media, subscribe to our podcast. So we'll be back next week with another exciting episode. I want to just let listeners know coming up in this coming week. You can stay tuned. We will be having an orientation to the board of directors for Special Olympics Illinois. You can stay tuned to that complete audio. The entire audio is coming up, as well as the first double Voices of Champions talks. Hanna and myself and other speakers from across the U.S. will be on that, and that will be on Zoom, but you can watch the live stream or podcast later. Will be available on specialchronicles.com on this podcast feed, so stay subscribed. You can stay subscribed for that. And there's something else coming up. Oh yeah, we've got a few other shows coming up. But I'm blanking off the top of my head. I don't have the notes in front of me right now. But I also know, I believe the first week of March, we will be having the Senior Vice President of Youth and Education Programming at Special Olympics International on to talk about this year's Spread the Word to Inclusion Connection campaign. And so stay tuned for that as well. So lots of exciting content. And if you have if you want to be a guest, or you know somebody that wants to be a guest, then go to specialchronicles.com, go to our contact page, and you can find out how to get in touch with me and come on the show. So I'll come on the podcast. And so until then, I have to get to work, and I'll let you guys all get back to the West Day Video Day. And until then, we could say remember choose to include at the same time. So until then, remember choose
to include.
We'll see you next week. Right here.
Hey, do that again. I was muted.
Oh, okay. So we will be back next week. And until then, remember choose to include. We'll see you next week. Until next week, remember choose to include.
Special Chronicles. giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
Okay, awesome.
Awesome. Good job. Good job, guys.
Let me go
Yeah.
ahead and in the broadcast.